So the 2021 NBA Draft is coming up this week, and as expected, there is tons of excitement about this year's class of prospects about to get selected. This draft has tons of talent top to bottom, and teams will definitely be excited to bring in future contributors from it. But today's video is actually going to be a bit more negative than usual. For the topic of today's video, we'll be looking at all of the top prospects in the draft, and we'll be identifying the biggest issue with their games at the moment that could potentially hold them back from reaching their full potential. Obviously, they're all incredibly talented guys, but in order to get a full understanding of how they play, you need to know both their strengths and their weaknesses. Before we start though, I want to thank BetQL for sponsoring today's video. Want to get an advantage over your sportsbook? You need to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart sports bets. Their best bets algorithm scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you the best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports, and it gives you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. Plus, the BetQL platform is loaded up with all the tools to make you a more informed bettor, bar none. These tools include line movement and sharp data on who the pros are backing, team summaries highlighting previous success, and leaderboards to track how you stack up against others and to view your winning streaks. Head to the link in the description to get started now and enter the discount code HOOPS at checkout for 25% off any of their subscription offerings. Also check out their sportsbook offers page if you live in one of the eligible states to claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. Don't miss out on a chance to gain your betting advantage. And now, with all that being said, let's start the video. The first player we'll be discussing is top prospect Cade Cunningham, and the biggest issue with his game right now that he'll need to work on in the NBA is cutting down on committing turnovers. In his only season in college, Cade did a lot of things well, but the one thing that sticks out like a sore thumb on his stat sheet is the amount of turnovers that he committed. He, on average, committed 4 turnovers per game, compared to dishing out only 3.5 assists per game, which is honestly pretty poor. Now, of course, there's more context that goes into this, such as the fact that he faced a lot more double and triple teams in college than he will in the NBA, his teammates weren't exactly great for him to pass to, and other stuff along those lines, and sure, that does all factor into it, but ultimately, there are still a good amount of situations where he just throws it away at a time that he can't afford to, and that's definitely where he'll need to work on improving the most. He's absolutely a gifted passer and playmaker, but he needs to do better learning when to make those plays as opposed to forcing it when it isn't there. The next top prospect we'll be discussing is Evan Mobley, and the biggest issue with his game at the moment is the fact that he lacks a legitimate low post game. Mobley has the potential to be one of the best big men in the league one day, but all of the best big men nowadays are revitalizing the low post for dominance, such as Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, who just demonstrated this year, and Mobley lacks an array of go-to moves with his back to the basket. A lot of his offense comes as a result of the players around him creating for him, he excels in the pick and roll, he has a decent face-up game in the mid-range, but he's just not someone who you can exactly just dump it down to on the block right now in hopes of having him go get a bucket for himself. The next top prospect we'll be discussing is Jalen Green, and the biggest issue with his game right now is his defense. Green is an elite athlete with the lateral quickness and explosiveness you love from a prospect like this, and he has all of the physical tools needed to succeed on that end of the floor. He just simply has way too many defensive lapses where he isn't hustling as hard as he needs to be and gets beat by his man purely because of his effort. His lack of effort can definitely be a bit worrisome because that kind of thing can speak to his competitive drive, but simultaneously, we've seen plenty players struggle with similar issues like this coming into the league over time, and then they learn to fully buy in on defense and become terrific defenders. It will all just come down to how much Green wants it. He is also a bit thin for a wing player, so he'll need to add strength to his frame to fully be able to hold his own on defense, but for the most part, he has the tools needed to do well. He just needs to continue to work on putting in the effort. The next prospect we'll be discussing is Jalen Suggs, and the biggest issue with his game right now is his lack of creativity as a scorer. In college, he relied heavily on being stronger and more athletic than the defenders that he was matched up with when attacking and finishing at the basket, and his shooting stroke came and went, as is the case with most young gunners. But at the NBA level, he definitely won't be able to rely as heavily on those tools, and he'll need to add a bit of an in-between game to keep defenses guessing. It would definitely be in his best interest to work towards adding a floater to his game perhaps. He could benefit from some change of pace moves and hesitations to create space and keep defenders on their toes, and if he does that, he'll be golden. Suggs has always been a very smart player who does whatever is asked of him, but he's not exactly a go-to scorer, so working on adding more ways to be effective in that regard would take him a long way. The next prospect we'll be discussing is Jonathan Kuminga, and the biggest issue with his game right now is his overall decision-making. Kuminga is the biggest boom or bust prospect at the top of this year's draft because he could arguably have the highest ceiling as a player, but he's also incredibly raw and will definitely need a few more years of development before he starts to shine. He's confident with the ball in his hands right now, as he likes to take way too many low-quality shots, and he can definitely get a bit of tunnel vision when his first option to pass to isn't available. He'll settle for some bad shots instead of continuing to work his way into a good one. When his mind is made up on shooting, he will not pass the ball, and he can definitely be a bit of a ball stopper at times, so he needs to learn how to play more within the flow of an NBA offense, for sure. And finally, the last prospect we'll be discussing today is Scottie Barnes, and the biggest issue with his game at the moment is just his overall scoring ability. Barnes is the jack-of-all-trades player at the top of this year's draft, who brings physical and versatile defense, terrific playmaking from the forward spot. He's a high IQ guy, always looking to make the right play and do the little things to help a team win, but quite simply, he's just not a very good scorer of the basketball. He only shot 27% from 3 last year, his shooting motion is very stiff, and he'll probably have to change his mechanics a bit over time in order to ever be effective as a shooter. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think of the top prospects and what they need to work on to improve their games. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.